These are the non-financial mistakes people make 5 years before retirement.
Welcome to the Mind Money Spectrum podcast, where your hosts, Aaron Agti and Trishul Patel, go beyond traditional finance questions to help you explore how to use your money to achieve the freedom you want in life.
Hi, my name is Aaron Agti. I'm a financial advisor in the Bay Area. I'm here with Trishul Patel, a wealth manager on the East Coast.
Hey, Aaron, great to be here today. And thanks everybody for listening and watching.
Great to be here as well. So last time we talked about some of the specific financial things that you should do about 5 years before retirement, kind of as you're transitioning from an accumulation phase to a decumulation or a spending phase. You've saved, you have your nest egg built. How do you actually use that nest egg to support your lifestyle? A big thing that Trish and I focus on as CFPs, as financial advisors, especially when it comes to retirement planning, is not just making sure you have enough money and how does that money last, but also making sure that you enjoy retirement. There's a decent amount of research around this, and I am going to oversimplify a lot of the psychological well-being research, like just happiness research. If you have enough money, if you've removed a lot of the financial concerns and you're no longer working, how do you just make sure you're happy? This could be a placeholder phrase, could be well-being, could be thriving, could be this sense of, it's probably like some spiritual phrases, but I forget what's the Buddhist peak that you're trying to get to at the top.
Nirvana.
Is it Nirvana? Is that the phrase I'm thinking of? I think like self-actualization or something.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Enlightenment, right?
Enlightenment. That's what I was thinking of. Thank you. So today we want to kind of focus on the non-financial aspects, but like before you retire, preparing to get to that phase. So again, we have a decent amount of research that will inform the advice we provide to retirees and as clients. But these are some things that trying to do like while you're still working before you retire to get ready for that achieving enlightenment period of your life. The origin of this conversation was a conversation with a client where part of their retirement plan was saving up, selling their house in California, and moving to Colorado. And now the cost of living in Colorado is much lower. The equity in the home in California could actually help them buy a bigger place or have a place with no mortgage, or probably even cash out some and use some of that equity to help support lifestyle via investments. But I've had a few clients do this, like you move from California where homes are very expensive to a place where homes are less expensive. Arizona is another popular retiree destination. On the East Coast, I hear everyone goes from New York down to Florida. Same idea where the cost of living is lower. So now you have this extra home equity to help support retirement lifestyle. And one of the things I was worried about, and I've talked to a few clients, is where are your friends? Because we've talked about in past conversations the domains of well-being, but one of those is your community. One of those is friends, family, relationships, and having a good social organization is one of the very key components to having good retirement. And I was a little concerned that if all their friends and relationships are in California and they move to Colorado, will they be less happy even though they have more money? So that was kind of the origin. I'll go a little deeper on that. But before I go there, Trisha, what are some of the things that you want to make sure we talk about, or what are some situations you've seen of things that people can do before they retire to like mentally or emotionally prepare or psychologically prepare for the non-financial parts after they do retire.
Right. Yeah. I think you touched on the big ones. And I think the way to kind of think about it is some of the things you mentioned are more tactical in nature. Like what steps do you make to make sure in the near term you're positioned well across a few competing concerns? And then I think some of the others are more longer term, more strategic in nature. And I think probably where to start is with that big one that we started this conversation with, right? That self-actualization and like because that's probably the kind of the keystone to why you're doing all this, right? Like, why are you even retiring, or what's the point,
Mhm.
right? The big question, and I think it begs the important question of just kind of asking yourself, who are you without your work? Like, who are you without your
Mm.
career? And I think it's something that if you haven't confronted because you've just been busy working,
Yeah.
it's worth giving it attention.
Okay, that's a great point. So I do think I want to bring up like again the four domains of well-being. We've had a past conversation about this. One is financial health, and we're assuming if you're retired and you're working with an advisor, you have your nest egg, you are financially healthy.
Mhm.
Second one is physical and mental health. So make sure your body and mind are healthy enough to thrive for multiple decades. Like if you're retiring in your 60s, we're planning on you living to your 90s, if not past 100. So again, multiple decades of, and this is why other research talks about this is an entirely new phase of your life. This is not the end of your life. This
Mhm.
is possibly spending more time as a retiree than you did working sometimes, depending on age of retirement, how long you live. So again, physical, mental health. I mentioned the community, friends,
Mhm.
family relationships, another huge important part. And the last one is a sense of purpose or meaning. And Trisha, I think you phrased it really well. Who are you if you're no longer working? Because again, for most people, for a long time, financial health, community, their coworkers, the people they work with, and their purpose all came from work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so having a sudden cutoff of that where you remove all three of those. Now, again, the financial one we're probably not going to talk about today because we're assuming that you are confident you're in a good place, especially if you're working with an advisor, that you have saved enough. So you're not worried about the income from retirement, but the community part and the sense of meaning part, it's hard to just cut those off and find your new life. That's a big transition phase that can be challenging for a lot of recent retirees. So when you think of what can they do 5 years before they retire to address those specific concerns, what are some of the things that you've talked to clients about?
Yeah. So I think it comes down to trying to build an identity before retirement,
Mhm.
right? Not waiting till you're already past the finish line. And I think it's important to, just internalize that there's some work to be done around that. It's not something you can take, you could take it for granted, but why? Right? This is
Yeah.
your most important asset here, your life. And it's one thing to see it on paper that you're financially independent, but you can't just assume that because you have this freedom, you'll automatically be happy,
Mhm.
right? And I think you touched on the key areas that are going to be disrupted. You're not going to have that level of structure that you have
Mhm.
automatically. You may not have that kind of status you have with your career, right?
Mhm.
Or even the sense of like daily purpose. Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to do each day? So one way to kind of think about it is if you couldn't tell someone what you do for work, how would you describe yourself? Like
Oh, it's interesting.
yeah, what would you say to that question? And um, it could be the simple things like I just do what I want, sure, but this is an opportunity to make a little bit more out of that, to kind of define what you really want your life to be and put some action behind it, some purpose behind that specifically.
I do like that. Those are some really good questions. Part of so that the part of the conversation I tend to have with clients is helping them figure out who they are is really hard. I guess to say it requires them to be introspective. A
Mhm.
stepping stone to that, or like an easy first step or easy conversation, might be like, what hobbies do you like to do? How do you like to spend your
Mhm.
time when you're not at work? And it's usually easier for people to identify and define those. Um, one of the things that comes up with George Kinder's life planning and his 3 questions is, how do you like to spend your time? And it
Right.
helps separate, like,
Right.
if you won the lottery, what would you do? Like, I want to buy a yacht, like, or buy a new house. Like, instead of what you would do with money, like, how do you spend your time?
Right.
And part of the training comes like not accepting the first high level answer. Oh, I'm going to travel more. Okay.
Yeah.
How often are you going to travel? Oh, all the time. So specifically,
Yeah.
how often? Are you going to travel literally 365 days a year? Are you going to be the world traveler where you no longer own a home? Oh, no, not that much. I'll probably be at home more than I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're at home, how do you spend your time? Like, I don't know, I'll do whatever I want. Okay. Such as,
Right.
and like, if you kind of, again, an advisor helping a client will kind of force these questions, but that's where it does require the kind of introspection of, what time do you wake up? What do you do for the first thing in the morning?
Mhm.
What do you do on a weekly basis that you look forward to? How often do you travel? When? And so those types of hobbies are like an easy thing to help them get started. Like, oh, you know what? I've been meaning to do this, like this woodworking project, or I've been meaning to do this gardening thing that I just don't quite have time. So I've been really looking forward to that. And the hobbies, again, I say it's a stepping stone or a starting point because it's not necessarily who you are kind of feeling, but it helps clients start thinking about how they're going to spend their time and what they actually enjoy, what do they not enjoy doing that they can remove, and they can start doing those things before they retire usually.
Mhm.
That's why I try to get them thinking in terms of, how are you spending your time, and get them away from, I do work and then I sit at home. And if they can start building in, again, like you said, that structure of other things that they say they want to do and they actually enjoy, but it takes a little bit of extra work to make sure that they're actually doing it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm curious, like, what are some of the other things that you have used to kind of start those conversations with clients before they're actually financially independent, but it's like you can see it on the horizon?
Yeah. Well, I think even this specific question can be tackled from like a strategic and then tactical perspective. And similar to what you alluded to, just kind of thinking first big picture strategically. I think a good place to start with in terms of, who are you without your career is,
Mhm,
what do you want to get out of your life? Right. And
mhm,
that, I think a good place for those questions is something we've discussed before, the Kinder 3 questions, right?
mhm,
Just very quickly, this is an exercise where you kind of dive into or try to uncover what are the key things that you hold of value in your life that you want to attain.
mhm.
And it kind of starts with, um, if you went to like the doctor's office and the doctor said, "Hey, you have 10 years to live," what would you regret the most? That
So we're gonna do real
and
quickly. First
yeah,
question: if you didn't have to worry about money, how would you spend your time?
yeah,
Second question: if you have 5 to 10 years to live, now how do you spend your time?
right,
Which now? So it's taking that first question, like, which is the priority? Which do we have to get done first?
yeah,
Third question is, if you found out you only had a day to live, what would you miss out on? What did you
Right.
not get to do? Who did you not get to be?
Yeah. And that really acutely puts a spotlight on, okay, this is what I really care about, right?
Yes.
So if you're unsure, an exercise like that can help, right? To
Mhm,
really hone in. And then, more tactically, as you alluded to, and we've had these conversations as well, what does your ideal year look like,
mhm,
and your ideal week, and then your ideal day,
mhm,
just to be very, very tactical. And even for the ideal day, this is something I mentioned, and I've talked to clients about this. Just grab a sheet of paper and write
mhm.
down, what does your day look like? How do you want to spend it? And you initially maybe, yeah, I'm gonna wake up, lay in bed until 2 p.m., eat chocolate, and go and order takeout, right? But realistically, like, what does that day look like?
Mhm,
And you'll be surprised because just putting in some low hanging fruit will go a long way.
mhm.
Like, you probably want to have 3 good meals, right? You probably want to see daylight, the
Yeah.
sun every day. You probably want to do some exercise, and you probably want an hour of social time or something, right? So it's not a daunting exercise, right? Get the full 8 hours of sleep, put that in the plan, right?
Yeah.
Put some downtime, put some time, right? And you may realize that it's not such an incredible thing that we're going for, right?
Mhm.
It's quite in the realm of possibility. And even at a 1.0 first order approximation pass, 2/3 of your day may already be full with what I just mentioned.
Yeah. That's a good point. I also like the exercise of that ideal day, ideal week, ideal year. And one, it's like helping people like, yeah, you can't just say travel because you're not going to travel more than you're at home. Okay, so now how do we feel our time at home? I like the weekly cadence of things I to look forward to. So,
Mhm,
in the summer here where we live, on Wednesdays there are food trucks in our local town, and I love taking the kids to the food trucks, and I get to try different foods. It's been a fun weekly activity for me and the kids, and uh, now that's like back in summer, like we've been enjoying this.
mhm,
So that weekly cadence of things to look forward to is really helpful. In part because while you're working, it's very easy to look forward to the weekend. But when you're no longer working, Saturday and Sunday have no difference to you than Monday or Tuesday, other than maybe like traffic and crowds kind of thing.
mhm.
And so you get to kind of, again, design which days do you go do the stuff and avoid crowds, which days do you stay at home.
Mhm.
But again, building that weekly cadence. And you started kind of to mention this, and I want to make a clear point. One of the things that as clients go through the exercises, both in terms of the 3 questions of ideal day, week, year, is like you said, a lot of it's actually achievable now. They don't
Mhm.
need to be retired to do some of the low hanging fruit.
Mhm.
It might just take a little bit of coordination and scheduling. Like, okay, I would like to do more yoga. And so, okay, how often do you do yoga? I like to do it twice a week. Okay, do you do it in the morning, in the afternoon? Like, when do you? Okay, I'm going to do it in the morning before work. Okay, so like you're going to sign up for yoga. You like yoga. You say you enjoy it. We found a time that fits in your calendar. You're close to retirement, so you're not really. So I think that's another important part of our conversation today. When you're this close to retirement, most people are confident and secure in their jobs that they're not really worried about being fired, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
or one of my clients gave me the phrase, he had developed enough efficiencies at work that what used to be a 40-hour a week job was now taking him like 32 hours. Like
Right.
he was better at his job, which makes sense if you're 5 years away from retirement. You're really good at your job.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of easy to find a couple hours to, again, prioritize the things that he actually wants to do.
Mhm.
So that's why I say it's usually not a case of the finding time part. It's just a moving off of the status quo and actively pursuing the things that you want to do.
Mhm.
And most of the time, if clients do a good job of this, again, it's 5 years before retirement, they start looking for how they want to spend their time, the hobbies, the activities, who they want to spend time with. In the case at the very beginning of the conversation, it turned out that the husband had family in Colorado, so like they had that relationships and communities that were going to help. But again, who are you going to spend time with? It's like don't wait till you're retired to start spending more time with friends. Like
Mhm.
actually schedule it, talk to them. I know coordinating calendars is really, really difficult. It takes work. I have 3 friends I like to play golf with. We cannot find a single day to play golf together. We go like 2 or 3 times a year just because we can't find any other day in common.
Right.
And so it takes work to make sure that you are seeing your friends. But if you're doing these things, a lot of times we get away from this feeling of I can't wait until I retire to do this stuff. Like if we've done a good job 5 years before retirement, you're starting to really enjoy your life while working.
Mhm.
And it starts to also make it that you might be okay working a few extra years.
Mhm.
That you don't need to stop working to enjoy your life.
Mhm.
That again, it takes that phase of you're confident enough in your work and you're finding the tasks that you do well at, but looking for the other things that'll fill your time gives you kind of I'm trying to think like there's a psychological benefit
Mm.
that you and it's like it's you're actively fighting burnout feelings.
Yeah.
That because
Right.
you have enough things outside of work that you find engaging that you have placed good boundaries on work,
Mhm.
which makes it easier to sustain work for more years, which
Right.
can have a variety of financial benefits
Yeah.
because you have not started withdrawing from your portfolio. You keep saving a little longer. Your nest egg is a little bigger. Retirement might be a little more nicer. But
Mhm.
that 5 year before retirement is where a lot of this work can actually start to take hold. Like
Mhm.
before then, before there's like I have to keep working for a while. These conversations are still really helpful, but it's just trying to improve lifestyle now rather than uh like trying to translate retirement lifestyle down to the present day.
Right.
These conversations really take hold when clients start thinking, oh, I only need to work a few more years and then I can do all these things that I enjoy. Before like, no, we can probably start doing some of them now.
Yeah.
And it's a combination of one, we need to practice living your ideal life. Like it takes reps, it takes that coordination, it takes work of creating that structure.
Mhm.
And sometimes you might not like it. Sometimes you might change your mind.
Yeah.
It's like we have to figure out what you want your retirement lifestyle to be. And then maybe like doesn't have to be that 5 year mark. It could be a little longer. It could
Yeah.
also be even be sooner because like, oh, I am loving my life so much. Work just keeps getting in the way.
Right.
And there's a phrase that a lot of advisors use that, and we've talked about it. It's like you want to remove this feeling of I need to retire from this thing,
Mhm.
from my job.
Yeah.
And instead, I need to retire to something, to the life that
Mhm.
I actually want.
Right. Right.
And that's why that 5 year period is like that seems to be that like nice sweet spot of I'm ready to retire from my job. And if
Mhm.
that's the mentality, you're not actually ready to retire. And so a lot of this work of the non-financial stuff before retirement is preparing that what is the lifestyle you're retiring to? And you could probably start a lot of that now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is, probably the greatest point, because, like, for example, with my clients, a key thing we focus on is how do we accelerate that time to financial independence? And what I end up repeating
Mm.
is, how about now? Like, why not? The best time is obviously yesterday, but the next best time is today. So there's always the option to live the right life you want, right now, right? Just start working on towards it,
Mhm.
not, let's get the money sorted out and then figure it out, once we cross that line.
Mhm.
But you can put in the effort now, and you can probably put in, as you mentioned, the change, not all the change, but pieces of the change now. The trade-off you mentioned, for example, is very patent. Like, in some situations where you can look and see, you can either work for the next 5 years full time, or you could go part time
Mhm.
tomorrow.
Yep.
Right? And you immediately have half of your, working time to do all these other things.
Mhm.
And what it might mean, and I'm going to say might, it may not even mean, but it might mean you work a few years more. Right? If things cooperate, that may not even be true.
So, okay, this is a great specific example. I was going to ask you for some specific examples, but
Mm-hmm.
that the idea of working part-time, say about 5 years before retirement, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on financial situation, it might change 5 years into 10 years
Mm-hmm.
of actually working. But I really like people taking a strong consideration of this, because there's a realistic possibility that once you retire from your current job, you're going to want to work part-time anyways. Because
Mm-hmm.
again, we want to have that sense of purpose, meaning that contribution to a group or to society, that like that your skills are valued. There's so many good positive feelings that come from some kind of work. Sometimes
Right.
you can call it ego. You can call it uh again pride. So like having some kind of part-time work can actually make retirement go a lot better. And so if you're going to do that part-time work anyways, then we could probably start now.
Mm-hmm.
And this gets to a few other kind of very practical things on the non-financial side. Where do you want to live when you retire? Is it in your current home? Okay, great. That's already there. Is it in this other place? Why not move there now or
Mm-hmm.
before you retire?
Right.
You don't need to be retired to move.
Mm-hmm.
There are other jobs that you can do, and especially with remote work, a lot of times you can keep your current job.
Yeah.
And so, why wait until retirement to move to that place you want to live before you retire? This starts to give a variety of practical help of like, it might be a place you visited, but have never spent more than 2 weeks in. And you can kind of practice living there. It's like you might live there for a year, like, oh, I don't think we want to live here. You might get into ideas of renting a place at the place you want to retire. It's like, we like the city, but not this area. We actually want to live in this area. And like, okay, now you have a better idea of you've lived there. Like now you can look to buy a house in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you are working, it makes it a lot easier to kind of either afford that rent or afford that new mortgage, or figure out, do you want a mortgage that you'll pay off shortly, or do you use your assets to support it? Because again, you're close to financial independence, so you have these types of choices. So again, where do you live? Who are you spending your time with? Where are your friends? Again, don't need to wait till retirement. Let's just start spending more time with friends and family now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in addition to where you live, not only location, but that like rent versus buy decision. It might be you have a house that you raise your children in, might have a few more bedrooms than you really need. Are you going to stay there, or are you going to downsize to someplace that you might find more manageable and fits your lifestyle better? You don't need to wait until retirement to make that change. And a lot of these things are a little easier when you still have that income. It's just
Mhm.
just a little easier. Um, if you are staying in your current home, do you want to pay off your mortgage? Like maybe we instead of if you want to find those there's I'd say real intangible benefits when people pay off their mortgage. Math a lot of times will say, depending on your mortgage interest rate, if your investments can grow at a higher rate of return than the interest you pay on your mortgage, your net worth will grow if you don't pay off the mortgage. But a lot of people feel really good paying off their mortgage. There, they, there are enough cases and good evidence that if you want to pay off your mortgage, you might feel better. You might feel more secure in your retirement. Again, don't need to wait until retirement to pay off your mortgage. That's another example of maybe we accelerate that so you have it paid off in a few years. And then let's keep what does your cash flow look like when you've paid off your mortgage and you still have the same salary? I am genuinely curious for so many people. If you were to live 2 years with your same salary and no mortgage payment, how would life feel?
Mhm.
Because you might find like, oh, I had this feeling of constraint for so long, for decades, that now I finally have this feeling of abundance, and I I kind of like this. Or for a lot of people, like, no, I actually like my lifestyle. I paid the mortgage, I paid it off. Like, I just have extra money to save. Great. Now we have like 2 years worth of extra savings that was a mortgage payment that you can now uh again makes retirement lifestyle just a little nicer.
Mhm.
Um trying to think like I think those were one of the probably the big ones that I wrote down, like the working part-time. You get great, lots of good reasons to work part-time in retirement.
Yeah.
No reason to wait until retirement. You can start that sooner.
Mhm.
Where you live, both kind of the actual house, the city area you want to live in, and like, are you like renting or buying?
Mhm.
Because again, there are good financial planners and there's good strategies to rent for the rest of your life that can work just fine. You
Yeah.
don't have any home equity that you need to worry about. You have turned that into liquid assets that you use to pay your rent. It works just fine. Um, the hobbies and the friends and family, probably the other big ones that I think about in
Yeah.
terms of you need to get started on these before you retire and don't wait until you retire.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, can you add anything that's kind of like specific tactical things that they could do to help them thrive in retirement?
I think you got the big ones there, right? I think I'll add on just a few cents on each,
Mhm.
right? So we mentioned going from like a full-time job to nothing might leave a big hole, right? In many gaps in your current well-being. And just having that small part-time commitment, whatever it happens to be, like consulting or just a passion project or something, um, whether it's like a hobby slash, type of income situation, whatever it happens to be, that can provide a good amount of those gaps, right? The sense of purpose,
Mhm.
some structure, social interaction, and as you mentioned, just less pressure on your portfolio, of course, right?
Mhm.
So it, it can check a lot of boxes. It's definitely worth considering. And the housing one, I think that's a good question too, because sometimes where you end up, or sorry, a lot of the times where you end up living is tied to that career. Like a lot of people move for their jobs and that's where they end up, right? But it doesn't have to be that way
Mhm.
anymore, right? So that's a big thing. And at this point, you probably have an empty nest or close to it,
Mhm.
right? So you can trial other places, even, right? There's no need to even just buy a new home about the same size in another
Yeah.
city, but maybe just go live there, rent for a bit, and see if you like it. So I think it just gives you the opportunity to try different locations, different
Mhm.
size homes, different proximities to places that aren't solely centered around commute time, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's in your geography that you are in, you may want to live on the other side of town, right? And
Yeah.
be closer to entertainment than the financial district or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think all these are kind of up for grabs when it comes to housing.
You mentioned the consulting. I made a little quick note.
Yeah.
Another similar conversation I've had with clients is you don't need to necessarily quit your job
Yeah.
to work part-time.
Mhm.
You start to get to this point where, okay, I only need half my income for 7 years, something like that. And that's why working with financial planning can really help. And so you start to identify the parts of your job that you like and the parts that you don't like.
Mhm.
And you also probably, again, you're likely in your 50s, you've been there long enough, you have enough cachet, you have enough kind of clout to like influence some of these things. And you can start turning down projects that you don't like. Like,
Mhm.
no, I am not going to do that.
Yeah.
And you can start you again, you probably have a good idea what types of tasks you like doing and what types of tasks you don't. And I ask clients to kind of start designing your ideal job, because
Mhm.
a lot of times it does not require a pay cut to do that. It's just but it's a transition. It's not a hard stop, but it's a transition. Like, start turning down projects that you don't find engaging and only accept projects that you do. And again, there's going to be conversation with your boss and like where are you going with your career? Like, are you not trying to get promoted anymore? Like, there's other work that needs to be done. But it is very possible to just stop taking on new projects, get into kind of a maintenance mode, only working with the people that you like working with. And all of a sudden, if you've designed your ideal job and you're getting paid well and you like the work and it's less stress, and you like the people you work with, it's a lot easier to work a few more years. That
Mhm.
if you can start this where again you have that, it's almost like a psychological financial confidence that the worst case scenario
Yeah.
is they fire
Right.
you and you're going to be
Mhm.
fine because you're planning on leaving to go work for a part-time job anyways.
Right.
Like, if
Yeah.
you're ready to leave to go work at a part-time job, that could be consulting, could be something else, and instead you stay and just start saying no to meetings. Like, nope,
Mhm.
I don't work after 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
I don't show up till 10 a.m. Like, again, the worst case scenario is they fire you, but you were already prepared to leave anyways.
Yeah. I think it's an opportunity to kind of renegotiate, right?
Yeah,
And so
but but it doesn't even have to
on
be
your
explicit
terms.
negotiation. It's
Yeah.
it's not explicit. Like, oh, you don't walk in your boss's office like, I'd like to take a pay cut and do less work.
Yeah.
You just kind of start doing less work and they adjust.
Yeah.
And a lot of times what I find is, because I have had 3 specific clients go through this. And because they got better at the work that they enjoyed and they became better at delegating the work
Right.
they didn't do to
Exactly.
other
Yeah.
people, and they're communicating their boundaries and limits, the improvements in efficiency, improvements in delegation, and improvements in communication meant they got raises and promotions.
Yeah.
They actually got more money by doing less work because they became better organized in terms of the specific things that they wanted to do and delegating things they didn't and communicating timeframes and communicating timelines and deadlines. Like, they actually got better at getting more work done than they were doing beforehand, even though they're working less and they are being financially rewarded for it.
Hmm.
But it's
Yeah.
that like it's that like that financial like confidence of like, worst case scenario, you fire me and I'll be fine.
Yeah. Right. Very good point, Aaron.
It again, this is why I don't like doing just retirement planning, I guess I could say. It's, if you're doing, and I think you've seen this as well, you're living it. You were financially independent and you went back and designed your own job. And like, if you're if you're doing a good job at bringing all the things that you want to do in retirement into your current life, the work part becomes easier and more sustainable.
Yeah.
We got to get away from this. I can't wait until I retire. I've got to get out of my current job. And if you can get away from that mindset and have the lifestyle in mind, I can't wait to retire to my ideal life, and start bringing that parts of that and components of that forward into the present, just life gets a lot better. It really does.
Yeah, right.
I'm curious for you, either client situation or your own situation, how much of like you achieving FIRE, and like if you had been able to design your lifestyle before you stopped working, like could you have blended those better if you knew to prepare for that a little bit better?
That's a tough one. I was in my 30s. So
okay, that's fair. That's a good point.
So I don't know how much more I would have done there. Yeah, that's hard to say. I don't know. I might need to punt that, because basically I just had my head down until it's like across the finish line, and then I looked up.
I guess you're right. Age does matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think a few of my clients who are in their 30s and financially independent, they're still going to go back to work anyways. It's one of those, like, they know they're not ready to be retired, even though they're financially independent. So I'm trying to really help make sure that they're designing an ideal career.
Yeah. And so again, here's just the recap of how that process went. I did leave the career and had no intentions. What was I, like 37, 38 when this happened? And I took that blank sheet of paper and I just brought out my ideal day. And in that ideal day, I did put in a couple hours of doing something productive, like what we're doing right now, right? And that's what I've kind of built my life around over the last 8? No.
2019, I think it was 7 years.
7 years and change, yeah. And the math of it was also interesting because, at the time we had enough to not need a paycheck ever again if we kept our cost of living really tightly under control. And then the small math we realized is if we work just a little bit and cover our overhead and just let the nest egg grow, then we could kind of double that nest egg every 10 years by the rule of 72. You just invest in the market and let compounding do its work. So that's kind of where we landed, right? And I think the point you mentioned before is really apropos, because we thought, okay, after 10 years, then we don't have to work. But now it's almost 10. I'm like, I don't mind this. I could keep this going, right?
Okay, I'm going to ask you to explore that a little bit more. But like, you thought after 10 years, then we really don't have to work.
Yeah.
But you've designed it well enough that you'll probably keep going.
Yeah.
Expand on that, please.
Well, okay, so now maybe this is the one point we haven't talked about yet, but it comes to this notion of now you really need to focus on shifting the mindset from saving to spending. So you need to, and this is tough. It's a psychological transition where initially it was just about not spending a ton, right? Saving a ton, investing it. And the struggle now is you got to figure out what you're going to do with this, right? Even if it ends up all being donated, you want to have some purpose behind that, or so you want some sort of plan, and you want to enjoy the money, right? That you worked for. So but you want to be able to spend it without guilt, right? And keep living but realizing you don't need to be accumulating necessarily, right? So it's what we're working through, right? It's a work in progress. So
That's interesting. So
yeah.
you feel that your nest egg is plenty big enough,
Mhm.
and you enjoy the business that you've designed,
Mhm.
so you're unlikely to stop working for the foreseeable future.
It's something that I have to think more and more about as part of my next 5 to 10-year plan.
Mm.
Like what, and the notion is I just keep ratcheting down the things I don't want to be doing, right? Like I like these conversations, right, that we're having, Aaron. I like speaking with my clients, but there's other things that I could just pay a premium to outsource, like
Mhm.
compliance and like back office stuff and whatever other things that end up being more of the minutia of running a financial planning practice.
Mhm.
So I think that's the trajectory where I see this going. Just kind
So
of buying time that way.
okay. But again, you don't envision stopping this work.
I don't think well, so there's a core part of it that I just really like. Like, Aaron, we could do this for as long as you want, right? It's just 1 hour every month or so, or a couple hours a month, right? And just kind of with the practice, it's the intention isn't really to expand from here, right? Just to
Mhm.
kind of keep where we're at and focus on the existing book and make sure my clients are happy. And that doesn't take an incredible commitment beyond, because I'm operating at probably a quarter of the size of a
Yeah.
large scale practice in
Yeah.
terms of overhead and book.
So I think my I don't want to like start doing your financial plan for you.
Yeah.
uh because it sounds like, because so much of how you like to spend your time is basically free, you can't envision how you would spend the money. Like you don't have more time to go on more hikes and more camping.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so the that's all true. We'll have to do something
Okay.
about that. That's so far been, tomorrow's problem,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but it's on the
Like,
horizon.
but it's a good point. Like, you don't want to hike 24 hours a day. It's, it becomes
Ye
less enjoyable at some
Yeah.
point, at some endpoint.
Well, even as we mentioned earlier in the conversation, if you just have those basics on your sheet of paper, that's most of
Yeah,
your day. So
yeah.
how much more could you realistically do? Like,
It. So I think part of it is like also you and I are still at a stage of our life where we have kids in the house,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and,
sure.
and a large amount of my calendar is still built around kids' school calendar.
Yeah, that's probably it as well. Like, look, if you write out that day, we spend a third of our week driving my daughter around. So that's my part-time job. And chauffeur. If
Okay, so we'll wait 15 years and have this conversation again of like, are you still maintaining your client relationships 15 years from now?
Yeah. Well, so I can answer that. I'm pretty optimistic that that could be true because, again, it's not an intense load, and
Yeah,
I like my clients. I like speaking with them. I can do the check-ins and whatever is required. That part I enjoy.
I think you're right. I think you and I have that in common. Like we have intentionally managed not taking on too many clients to make sure
Yeah.
that we enjoy the conversations with our clients and it's still helpful to them, and it's at a pace that we are available for our clients when they need it,
Mm-hmm.
but when they don't need it, we have enough slack in our system.
Yeah, I think that's the right balance because, just it does provide solace knowing that I am providing tangible benefit, to many households that wouldn't have that benefit if I was, not doing that.
Yeah.
So I think it is a good use of my time.
I think that speaks to that sense of purpose and meaning and fulfillment. So like we can see the genuine impact we can make in our clients' lives, and we get paid for it, but also helps us feel good.
Yeah. So win-win.
Yeah. So I think that's again, there's a lot of little things that fall under these same themes of like you said, who do you want to be? And it's okay if work's part of that.
Mhm.
But you want to make sure that you're getting away from like, I can't wait until I retire to
Mhm.
do all this stuff. Like we
Yeah.
got to move that forward. And if you don't like enough of your current job, either you can kind of redesign your job as you get close to being financially independent, or you can start looking for a new job. But if you can find that kind of lower time commitment work that fits in your ideal lifestyle, that starts becoming very sustainable much longer. And it also satisfies, again, you got financial health, the like the community part, you have people that you interact with on a regular basis, and that, again, that sense of purpose or meaning that you are actually making a contribution and helping other people.
Mhm. Right.
So I guess if we had to sum up 5 years before retirement, look for part-time work.
Right. Well, I think I would say, how about now? Right. Just think about it.
Oh, okay.
How,
Yeah.
right. How about
I
now?
like that. It's everything that you envision
Yeah.
that you're going to do in retirement.
Yeah.
Why not start at least some of it, if not all of it, now? I like that
Right.
better. Why not
Yeah.
now?
Right.
Okay. I got all the warm and fuzzies. I'm feeling pretty good.
All right. Sounds like we did our job today.
Okay.
Good stuff, Aaron.
It's good talking to you today, Traditional. Thank you very much for the conversation.
All right, Aaron, great conversation. And thanks everybody for watching and listening. If you are enjoying these, just give us a like. That goes a long way. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. We appreciate you joining us today for this episode of the Mind Money Spectrum podcast. Be sure to visit mindmoneyspectrum.com to access the entire library of episodes. Remember, it's not black and white, but the wide spectrum of gray area where you get to pursue the freedoms you want in life. Opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance referenced is historical as no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested in directly. Have a nice day.